Now midnight bottles my kryptonite brings a man to steel down to his knees.
All right. I'm honored today to have Frank Hoagland. Now, I'm not going to go a lot about his bio because he's a humble man. He's very shy. He's probably not going to open up a lot. But he is a former state senator. And more importantly, he's a SEAL enlisted man. Enlisted means something in the SEAL world. And we're going to talk about veterans. We're going to talk about experience. We just realized we had a lot of shared personalities here, shared experiences. He came up with a Green Beret, a whole history of family. And obviously he's a SEAL. I know he said class 134, though, but I heard class 109 was the hardest class.
Every class is the hardest class. Come on now.
Every class is the hardest class. And just so the audience knows, there's a banter of like every class you're in, that was the hardest one, right? And so there's always a camaraderie, a friendly banter. So Frank,
Marty, I've got my buds instructor here. Hell, he might make me drop.
Yeah, but I heard he might be. No, I almost went down a politically incorrect road. I almost went down the road there about transition, but we don't want to do this.
Okay, no. We don't want to go that way.
But my understanding, obviously, give us a little about your background and how you came up, and how we got here today. And then we're going to talk about what interests you, and that's veterans and obviously our workers, our emergency workers, our firemen, our EMTs. We're going to go down that road, but right now, let's just turn it over to you. And how did we get here today?
Well, so basically, I'm an Ohio boy. Grew up part of my life, part of my childhood in Ohio. When my father, Richard Hoagland, who was an Army Green Beret 27 years, he got back from Vietnam. We moved to Central America, Panama, and I literally grew up being taught by Army Green Berets. So not just me, my whole family.
A little bit more elite than SEALs, for the record.
Okay, well, if you want to do that, knock yourself out. But I love the character you're looking at right now is because of those guys. Growing up in that environment, going to DOD schools on base, I mean, it was a very close-knit family. So when my father finally retired, we moved back what we always called home, Ohio, and that's when I met my wonderful wife, Miss Darla, on the side of the road. And, yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to go down that road, no pun intended, here on the No Bullshit Show.
But at any rate, I always knew I wanted to be a frogman because when I was a little kid, we used to watch the black and white TV back then. And I wanted to, Walter Cronkite was talking about, watch as the frogman prepares to open the doors so those astronauts can get out and all that stuff, But we were really watching TV because my dad was in Vietnam, and I wanted to see him kicking some ass, right? So instead, frogman. So I grew up, I want to be a frogman. I'll never forget, I looked over my shoulder, told my mom, I want to be a frogman. I got rid of all the Superman stuff, and all I bought was Aquaman stuff. Then got married, joined the Navy. I got to tell this. So I was building a 1970 Chevelle Super Sport. And my dad was helping me, and I put a big block motor in it, and I had a 850 Holly double pumper and all this stuff on there. And I looked over at my father, and I go, Dad, I want to join the Navy and become a Navy SEAL. He took a half-inch wrench, and he whacked me on the head with it. He said, that's the dumbest damn thing that came out of your mouth. He wanted me to go to college and become an engineer. But no, I went into the Navy and went through Bud's Class 134. Our class is having its 40th anniversary starting tomorrow. And hell, I did 21 years in the teams, had a blast. I mean, Hell Week sucked. Everybody talks about Buds. Every frogman you get on here is going to say, oh, Buds suck, whatever. You know what? Get past it, move on. You got to become a person. Every environment you get yourself in, you got to become that person. And that's why I wear this stupid hat all the time. It says, I'm all in. The other side of it is I'm all in all the time, right? So no matter what environment I go into, I just want to make sure I'm being fair, firm, and honest and trying to do right thing, even when no one else is looking. That's all. Show up to work on time, right uniform, right attitude. I don't give a shit what you got to do. Do it, right? So I did that, got out of there, went and worked for a DOD component and did 10 more years, done, I bet you 23 major deployments, spent over 2,000 days in one of them shitholes over a 10-year period, okay? And I had a blast. I worked with a lot of old SF guys. I worked with a lot of old SEALs, and the job that we had during that time frame, we had a blast. And we lost some guys. Don't get me wrong; your heart goes out every time you lose people. But we spent 10 years doing that, and the store didn't even know where the hell I was at. But then when I finished that one, I came back home. Dora and I built a house, and then it was Congressman Johnson asked me to run for state senate, and I'm like, there ain't no way in hell I could do this. Nobody's gonna vote for a jackass like me. Well, we did it. We won. Dora and I looked at each other like you and I right now, like, holy shit, what do you do now? We had no clue what the hell we were getting into.
You strike me as a very sensitive, all-encompassing, not sure where you have a position, not what you think sort of individual. So you were able to transition that into a political spectrum.
I don't think that they would agree with me transitioning very well, but we did it. It was just another job. You show up to work on time, do your damn job, right? Although I was a slob, probably like Marty would say, even when I went through Buds, I always wore a hat. My tie was crooked. I always chewed Copenhagen, even if I was on the floor. I don't care. I did what I am who I am. If you don't like it, don't let the door hit in your ass on the way out.
Love it.
So Dora and I did that. We did 8 years, almost 8 years there. Turned out, picked up a job with the governor, and we were doing counter drone programs. But I want to go back to my legislator days, because this is where it gets serious. So when I had first gotten elected, it was 2016, okay? Scotty Brower, another frog man, we were having problems with guys killing 22 guys a day, dying. Veterans we're talking about. All of us that's in this room right now, we've all gone through that VA process. Well, Scotty Brower, who was a West Coast frog, he calls me up one day, because Scotty and I were real close, and he says, hey, Hoag, there's this new brain treatment. They're doing it out on the West Coast. Back then it was called MERT. And I really thought Scotty was running around with tinfoil on his head. I had no clue. But I do know this. I've had several of my friends commit suicide. And you're like, what the hell? What can we do? And I'm in a position, I got a title. Why not use that title to do something productive? And in Ohio, we're paying a boatload of money in the mental health space, right? So I started learning about it. Come to find out, Scotty wasn't BSing. Scotty had that was one hell of a program. I read Jimmy Hatch's book called Touching the Dragon. Very good book. Knew a lot of the guys that was in the book. So I started calling guys up, or I would text them or contact them through one network or the other. And reached out to Jason Redmond, and Jason's like, Hoag, whatever you can do to help the guy, we need to do it. And darn, I just dove into it, like the all-in idea, and learned a whole lot. Then the next thing I know, it was when Governor Kasich was in office. I tried to, because mental health space, most states are paying billions and billions of dollars in this mental health space. Well, if you got a treatment that's going to curtail the usage of drugs, why not employ it?
Absolutely.
So I took that up the chain of command, just like what we would do if you were in the military, and it died. And you think, well, why did it die? Well, it died because it's not FDA approved. And you're like, well, who the hell are these people from FDA? Those of us that's been overseas and done the stuff that we've done, was everything on your body by military regulations? Hell no. You brought shit in there, whatever the hell you knew that was going to work. You stuck it in your damn bag because you knew that stuff worked, right?
Exactly right.
Well, if this treatment works, well, then let's get it out there to the boys and let them use it. Because right now we suck. What do we got? You go to the VA gives you a bag of drugs.
Bag of drugs.
You walk out, next thing you know, you're hooked on these drugs. You're taking, hell, some of these guys are taking like a boatload of oxycodone, Oxycontin. I just listened to because I was giving testimony in Oklahoma on this. So everybody's got the same story. I got the same story. You've got the same story. So you sit back and you think about it. Why are we in this process? So being a legislator, you think, well, shit, I could do something about this, right? Dude, I died so quick it was ridiculous. It's really not because it's not that they don't want to do anything about it. What they're trying to do is figure out how to use the bureaucratic system to do something about it. But you're not, in a team, we would always say you got to own it. No matter what you do, own it, right?
Get it done.
Get it done. Well, I don't see the federal or the state government owning this issue. What they do is they say, yay, we put a boatload of money in this program and we're going to help veterans. Well, we still got the same issue.
They say all the right stuff, and it's rope-a-dope.
You're right. Rope-a-dope. Muhammad Ali, right? So you turn around, and I had several conversations more with Scotty. We brought this program back. There was a senator that was working with, Ohio senator, that was working with me, Lou Terhar. Lou was a great dude. He was a Navy guy during Vietnam, and he would just bust in my office, and he'd say, Senior Chief, this is what you got to do. He said, make it a veteran program. Make it a pilot program. So me and my staff got together, and we started working on it from that perspective, right? Well, this time we got somewhere. But in the process of doing that, a good friend of Darrell and I's, who lived right over the hill, he was trying to commit suicide by cop.
Yeah.
Well, the next thing I know, Dirk is sitting in jail. And he calls me up at 6:30 in the morning saying, Hoag, this is it. I had it. I'm done. I'm ready to check out. And I said, no, that dog ain't going to hunt. So we took Dirk, sent him to the VA. So the VA says, this is up in Pittsburgh, VA says, oh, my, we're going to put him up here for 2 weeks. I think Dirk was there 5 days.
Set out.
And then I called up Scotty, and Scotty called Marcus, and they said, no, send him to Texas. So Ohio had to send an Ohio veteran to Texas to get him fixed. That pissed me off. So I called up the Senate president, I don't know, wee hours in the morning, because, once you get something in your head, it just starts eating at you, right? So I called Larry Alhoff, who was the Senate president. I was pissed. So I said, Larry, we got to do something about this. I can't believe that the state of Ohio's got to send somebody from Ohio to Texas to get them fixed. You mean to tell me Ohio doctors ain't as smart as Texas doctors?
Well, that may be debatable by Texas guys, but
you're very obviously at that time it is, So Larry just goes, he would call me Senator, but he would say, Senator, do whatever you got to do. You got the reins to do this. Now, to give you an idea of what it took to get done. So Larry gives me the reins. I had to go through policy. People never even heard of policy. So I start learning about this, and I'm learning more and more, reading more books, watching all kinds of videos, all this stuff, right? So the next thing I know, Miss Liz Conley, who works up there, she works right in the big office. All right, and she helped us draft up the legislation. And there was money behind it. And I told him, I said, whatever we do, Ohio's got to own it. We had all that done. Then I took it to the floor. It got passed off the floor, and then it got sucked into the budget. That was a big win, right? I'm thinking, holy shit, dude, we got to win.
Mission.
We got to win.
Mission accomplished.
Well, I went to a college. The money did. And this is my introduction. Frank Hoagland, welcome to the bureaucratic system. Yeah. Had no clue what was going on. Well, next thing I know, and I didn't do that fire and forget type leadership. I went into it with another thing that we would always say: expect what you inspect. Right?
Follow up.
So just like follow through when you're shooting, anything you ever did, you got to follow through, right? So I followed through. Well, what we found out is what they want to do is they want to get the money flows from the government. It goes into the bureaucratic system. So these bureaucrats can sit there. They say, you know what? I'm going to think about mental health today. So I'm going to bill on this bill line. They don't do shit. They just build a bill line. And you're like, why aren't we getting people fixed? Well, we didn't.
It's in the process. It's numb. It's in the paperwork. It's in the works. Nothing's on the execute side.
Marty, there's a whole lithia of what's going on here. People just don't realize it. So I'll never forget, I'm sitting around a table with a boatload of doctors. I bet you there's 20 doctors in there. I had my brother Matt with me at the time. And I'm looking around with all these doctors, and they're all doing their introductions. I'm doctor whatever, and I got 10 degrees in this, and I'm doctor. And I'm sitting there, it gets back to me, and I'm sitting there, I got my tie and my suit on.
Tie crooked or straight?
Crooked.
Oh, good.
Crooked. And I'm looking at these guys, and I got thinking, I said, you know what? We've got more degrees than a thermostat inside this room, and you all suck.
Yeah. No one's done anything.
Nobody's done anything. Talk. So we worked that for a little while. Now, Obhoff is gone. Huffman takes over. I'm talking to the Senate president. And Huffman was like, Matt Huffman, he's like, whatever you got to do it. If Hoagland likes it, I like it. If Hoagland don't like it, I don't like it. Well, with that particular organization, they wasn't doing anything. So I had a meeting with them, and I asked them, I said, Doc, you guys like apples? They said, yeah, I'm good. You just lost $6 million. How you like them apples? I got up and walked out. Matter of fact, Drew Sandy gave me a set of camis that I can wear for that meeting. I got out, walked out. We redid the whole legislation, the whole process all over again. And now it's back into a functional program. And it is working.
It's working.
It's called ETMS now. Okay. You got MERT. I don't want to get
vets, for law enforcement, for first responder, specifically for vets.
Marty, it started off for vets. Then we expanded it from vets to first responders, law enforcement personnel. All right, and the reason that was because your first responders, hell, they're answering every call. They're up to these scenes. They're seeing all the nasty, gross stuff that's going on, right? Law enforcement, they get chopped up, carry a gun every day, right? They're serving. So these guys are being impacted from what they want to call PTSD, and that's a whole nother podcast in itself.
Yeah.
Because I don't PTSD. I'll put it to you this way. Now, this is my own personal perspective. I am not a damn doctor. I wouldn't even want to be a doctor. I am a doctor, but on the other side of the world, on that realm of life or death, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so at any rate, the way I see it. So you've got the mental health side. They're with the psychiatrist, psychologist. Okay, the brain is part of your nervous system. All right, so you got what is called neurology side. So the psych side says, hey, we're going to call it PTSD. The neurology side says, well, no, what we're seeing is there's some stuff going on inside the brain that shouldn't be going on, and we can fix that. So if you get diagnosed with PTSD, bam, if you're a veteran, you're getting more money because you're on disability.
And they're going to feed you pills.
And they'll feed you pills. They'll feed you whatever they can to kind of just numb you. But on the neurology side, they're saying, hey, look, this, and I don't know all the parts of the brain. Like I said, I don't know the space between raindrops and all that. But what I do see is guys like Dr. Juan that's been dealing with this for the last 20 years. They're really getting this stuff down. And they're starting to understand how those brain waves are working and all that stuff. So Dr. Juan, who is with that ETMS program, he takes it to another level. And he'll say, hey, look, the issues that you're having is maybe it's anxiety. Maybe you're having panic attacks. Maybe it's depression. Maybe you can't sleep. All these different issues that they're finding because you got blown up, you got TBIs, you got whatever, But he don't want to get into the fight with the other side of the medical world of being psychology, saying, well, this is a PTSD issue. Dr. Juan, I'm not speaking for him. I'm speaking for what I understand him to say. Mind you, I've got 2 brain cells. They're located behind each eye, fighting over control on a daily basis. That was my way out.
I got it.
All right. So what I see is people like Dr. Juan, Dr. Kim, Dr. Misu, they're really getting a better understanding of what's going on. And they do this thing called an EEG, and they give you a baseline to see where your brain, I'm going to call it firing. All right, where your brain is firing at. And in the areas that it's not firing correctly, they use that ETMS. And I'm going to use Admiral Koenig's version. He says, that's like hitting the Control-Alt-Delete on the computer in that area, defragging it, and then putting it back together and getting it to work better than what it was working.
And they're implementing this in Ohio.
They've already implemented it in Ohio. They're moving it across this country now. I was just in Oklahoma 4 days ago, providing testimony in Oklahoma just so that people educate, right? Got to educate the people so they understand really what's out there. Is this the only tool in the toolbox? Probably not.
I mean, you see a lot of talk out there about mushrooms and hallucinations, psychedelics, and all this. I think it's interesting. It's not my ilk, but I think it's interesting because it falls on that side of the fence, vice the, the other side, the veteran side. You got PTSD, throw a bunch of pills. It's more on this side, dealing with the brain. I've just been reading about it. I'm not an expert, but
same thing. I'm not the expert, neither, Marty, but taking what you're saying is it's somewhat accurate. I mean, what Admiral Koenig told me, he says, Hoag, if you've been hurt and hooked, we can fix 80% again. If it's your lifestyle, I'm not so sure.
Right.
Okay. So, but Dr. Juan, they're actually collecting the data as we speak. They're trying to get this thing FDA approved. That's why I'm hoping to use this podcast to get in front of Congress and say, get off your ass and let's start focusing on getting some of this stuff through. All right. So,
frankly, we're not supposed to go to politics, but I'm going to go down that road anyway.
This ain't political.
Yeah, I know, but we have a leadership. We have leadership in place in the country now that, frankly, that will jumpstart. They want to push ahead. They want to make decisions, and they want to jump. The FDA, we all know, after Corona and all of this, that's an organization that needs to be revamped and fired up. And so hopefully this sort of mission will just put the onus on them to make a decision and get this done.
I agree with you. All right, but do we really have that leadership, or do we just have another?
Yeah. Well,
we don't know. Now,
until the missions, you're exactly right.
Now, what I'll go back to what I said before. You can have all the leadership in the world. You pass a piece of legislation, it gets into the bureaucratic system. They're still going to do what they're going to do.
Been there, done that. I've seen it so many times before. Where, and you're exactly right. The only solution for that is follow up. Just what you said. You think the battle's done, the bill's done, it's there. But if someone doesn't follow up, if you're not, or someone like you with your personality going, where is this today? What's happening today? Where are we at? Otherwise, it's going to be in a pile of files, no money behind it, nothing.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I hit the nail on the head. I see it the same exact way. But it's going to take us to group together. Now, going back to the hallucinogenics that you were talking about.
I just read about it, I know.
Well, I looked into that too. I'll be honest with you. I don't care if somebody licks the ass of a frog. If it makes them get better and they go back to work, that's a win.
I've done it, but it's not a frog. But we won't go down the road. We won't go down the road today. I will give you a bit of an example. A friend of mine, of course, they're saying, Marty, you need to go to Costa Rica. I said, for what? Because, I had a long service. I have colleagues who've been, PTSD problems. And they said, what I want to go to Costa Rica? I know why a lot of hot ladies. No, they got ayahuasca. I said, ayahuasca? And they said, yes. It opens up compartments of your brain. You go down there and you hang out and you do this ayahuasca, and some people come back and said it's life-changing. Well, as you can tell, I have a bit of a sense of humor like you. And I said, well, listen to me very carefully. That ayahuasca may work for some folks, and God bless them, but my boxes that are closed inside my brain need to stay closed.
Some of them do.
Because I go down there and I take ayahuasca and I'm hanging out with a naked shaman. Some may go sideways here, and it probably won't be a positive experience for anyone.
You really left yourself open with all that.
Yeah, I did.
I'll leave all that room for you. How's that? But, look, guys, in reality, we're going to have to group together, get behind something. And right now, the only thing I know of that is actually functioning is going to be something like, the brainwaves.
Right.
People like Dr. Juan and Kim and them, what they're all doing. And they got data to prove it. But that doesn't mean that we can't be looking for something else neither.
That's right.
Stay
open-minded.
We always did. The world I came from, even the world my father came from. If there was a new apparatus out there, them boys jumped on that like a hobo on a ham sandwich.
It was all about take the problem, adapt and overcome.
Find a solution. And then find a better solution to that solution.
Yeah. But don't just stand there and not do anything.
Well, that's how we got high speed, low drag, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Listen,
this was totally coincidence, this topic. But I do have on this podcast coming a young lady who specializes. It's her life's work as a psychologist, psychotherapy, everything else, about the brain, is very interested in PTSD, and has done her life's work on this. And I'm going to have her on the podcast. And actually, I'm going to refer back to this podcast and talk about. I'll bring this subject matter that you taught me today. I'm going to talk about your challenges and see how it obviously can combine with hers and move the ball forward.
Whatever we got to do. Look, when I gave testimony, I think on Senate Bill 158 back then, General Harris was right behind me, who was the National Guard General for Ohio. And I go off script. I'm not very good. Sometimes I see extra words that are inside of a.
I'm from Louisiana. I can feel it.
Okay.
I
get
make up my own words.
Yes, I do a lot of that too. But anyway, I screwed up. Then they were giving testimony. He says, well, you know what? I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life trying to help our veterans, law enforcement, and first responders, and anybody else we can have. That's just bottom line now. So I'm in it to win it. I need help. Anything you guys can do to get this message out would be awesome.
All right. And it's interesting because already our couple earlier podcasts, our guests and I kind of mentioned, we always come back to this theme. Okay, we got warriors downrange and in our country, law enforcement officers. They serve their country, they do what they're supposed to do, and they come back. Some of them is unseen. And you and I both know you can't unsee some things you see overseas. You can't unsee it.
You're right.
And and our men, I don't care who you are, you may be the highest trained special operator there is, but eventually it takes a toll. And we got to be able to understand and manage it and not just let them go off by themselves and their family suffers. You and I both know, obviously, you and your wife, they suffer more than we do as they watch us deal with these various issues. But to me, we got to be able to use the family support mechanism, bring in specialists like these doctors you mentioned, and somehow move this needle forward. Because there's a lot of young men. I mean, we all know after Afghanistan, Iraq, and other wars on the periphery around that, we have a lot of great men and women come back and they opt out, they commit suicide.
Oh, yeah.
And even, and you'll come to find out they were being treated by VA. They were being given prescription drugs, but it didn't help.
No, I've been thinking about this now for nearly 10 years. So what I see, and Darla sat with me, we've had vets. I don't know how they got my number, but they would call us up. It was the day before Christmas. Darla and I sitting there, we're getting ready to get our grandkids in there. This guy calls me up out of the blue. Literally, Darla's sitting in the chair, and she's bawling her eyes out. We were ready to listen to the freaking gun go pop. I mean, that was a toll the day before Christmas. And we've had that multiple times in our house. So what I'm starting to see here is what happens with these kids is they have a tendency they don't have any light in their life. There's no purpose. And when you don't have a purpose, darkness just starts to creep in. I've read a lot of books, and when you start thinking about it, when you're standing there and you're staring into the abyss, your brain starts going crazy. How many times you stood watch at night in the jungle and you're just looking out there and you start seeing shit, right? And it's like, is that real?
Yeah.
Is that real?
Is that real?
Because you're just staring into the abyss. Well, let me tell you something. That abyss is staring right back at you. And if you don't have any light in your life, what are you going to do? You end up gravitating to walk in towards the abyss. That water. Now imagine you're not only looking into the darkness, but now that darkness is filling up with water and it's closing in and closing in. Now you're losing air. So all of us that wake up every day and we got a calendar and we're sitting there looking at our calendar, I want you to think about this when you lay down tonight. You're going to get your calendar out and you say, well, what do I got tomorrow? That veteran, that law enforcement, that first responder dude, they got a calendar too.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, they may not have that tomorrow.
That's right.
They may say, I'm checking out.
Well, Frank, thank you for coming in today. Thank you for your message. We're going to help you from our end as much. We also want to thank Darla for the audience. There's a young lady sitting beside me. She's off camera, but she's been slapping me in the back of the head and keeping me on point this whole time. And we thank her for what she's done for Frank and their service. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Marty, for getting us hooked up, buddy.